Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Triangle Be Well, where the tribe of well gets together to learn about healthy habits, healthy lifestyles, healthy food, healthy this and that. I'm in the studio today with Amnon Nissan. How you doing?
I am just fine. How are you?
Very well. I'm much happier after you just gave me your cucumber.
Is it hot enough for you?
Boy, it's hot, but hot food, hot weather makes food grow. So you've got a
Yeah.
garden, and what else you growing besides those hothouse cucumbers?
Tomatoes, peppers, banana peppers, canned peppers. What else is there? Basil.
All right.
I don't know. You
Nice.
need to ask Kathy.
Ah, well, sounds like you can
It's
eat.
not my thing. It's her thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, you handed it to me so proudly. I thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm proud of it. I do the watering.
Oh, okay. Well.
I use technology though.
We need to talk because our technology involves getting up really early in the morning and holding a hose. So.
No, I use drip
All right. We
technology
definitely have
with
to
it-
talk.
with a timer, and it does it.
Okay. If we could get that done, I will be a hero at home because it's
Oh,
actually
it's
my wife does all the
simple.
watering.
Yeah, simple.
Cool. So I want to talk about a lot of things today, but first, if you're growing tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers and basil, um, you can kind of live off of that stuff.
We
This-
eat it
this-
every night. Kathy fixes salad every night.
Very
And
cool.
there's just enough. For two people, it's just enough. Every now and then, there's a couple more
Uh-huh.
cubes. And a couple more cubes, so I'll eat. If I know that we have in the refrigerator, I'll go out and I'll eat one. But it's great.
So well, we've had surplus, and it's been a hard year for tomatoes.
How many plants do you have though? A bunch.
Oh, well, we have a farm. And,
Yeah, I
and we
see.
don't know how to sell anything yet. So when I say
Yeah.
surplus, I mean like you could bury us under the surplus, and people wouldn't find us till
You should
November.
have brought some. Yeah, I
I
mean
brought-
that cucumber is something. No, tomatoes we don't get. We only have the
Cherry tomatoes.
cherry tomatoes and the pear tomatoes.
Okay.
The little ones.
Yeah.
The big ones are not doing like they're supposed to.
All right. Well, so I want to talk quickly about what I do for all that extra tomatoes and cucumbers, which is we make gazpacho, which is a great way to. Hey, here's your dog.
Gazpacho.
Gazpacho. I was at the Apex Farmers Market this weekend, and I had a little cooking demo booth, and I was surprised how many people didn't know what gazpacho was, but it's like a cold, spicy Spanish
good stuff.
tomato soup. And you get a whole bunch of tomatoes, and they start to go bad a little bit, or they aren't very pretty, and you can't really sell them, and they don't look so good. But just cut the stems off, chop them up into 4 or 5 pieces, throw them in the blender, and here's what I add. I add a good vinegar, whether it's a balsamic or a sherry vinegar or a red wine vinegar, something that's got a little bit of sweetness to it. I'll throw in a few cloves of garlic. I will put in a touch of salt and then hot sauce. So I like Cholula sauce and then a habanero pepper sauce. I throw that all in it, just whatever kind of ratios and proportions you like. If you like it really spicy, throw in some more of the hot stuff. If you like it really garlicky, figure it out. Always add less, and then you can always add more. It's hard to take away, but it's always easy to add another dash or sprig or pinch. So all that gets blended in the blender until there's nothing chunky left. There's no little, garlic bombs waiting to explode between your molars. And then you take that and you add all the rest of the stuff. Anything else that you've grown that you can kind of put in a salad, you can put in a gazpacho. So on Saturday at the farmer's market in Apex, I had cucumbers. So I peeled cucumbers and diced them and threw them in. I had some bell peppers. And the fun thing about bell peppers is usually when I'm cooking with bell peppers, there's a lot of waste, right? There are all those seeds and the white pith, and you cut it out on the top. Well, for gazpacho, the seeds and the pith go into the blender along with the tomatoes, and they'll spice it up a bit, add a little bit more flavor. So there's almost no waste, just whatever comes off of the stem. Then I chopped up those peppers. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming. Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you. That's good TV right there. A little drama, a little unexpected. I hope I didn't spike your audio meter too much. And so sometimes my sneezes are a little embarrassing. So like, whoop! That was a good, lusty sneeze. All right, so back to the gazpacho. I also, one of the farm stands on Saturday was selling really good corn on the cob. And so I just took raw corn, just scraped it off with a knife and put the kernels in. If you like it heartier, you can take a really good bread, a thick whole grain bread, and cut off big chunks, and you can throw that on top, and that'll sop up the gazpacho. But otherwise, if you want to take like tiny little green beans or tomatillos or anything that you would serve in a salad, avocado chunks are nice, but I was just doing local stuff, so nobody in Apex or Cary or Pittsburgh is growing avocados as far as I know, so we didn't put that in. And it was just really refreshing. And so if you've got a surplus, or if you have a neighbor with a surplus, it's a great way to, if you turn your food into soup or a smoothie. It's just essentially gazpacho is basically like a salad smoothie. You can get a lot more down, and it goes down a lot easier. You can put it in thermos, take it to lunch, pack it up in a plastic container, take it over to some neighbors, have a potluck. So that's what we've been doing with all of our excess around here. All right, so today I want to talk about big change. Like, I was talking with a friend of mine who is a doctor, and for doctors, they're basically dealing with people who come in with problems, and they have to try to get them back as close to okay as possible. And that's kind of how we all think about health. So if you're overweight, you want to think about, I just want to get back to a healthy weight. Or if I have a condition, I want to, either take meds to stabilize that condition, or I want to get off the meds, or I just want to feel better, or I want to slow down the progression of the disease. And kind of everyone is aiming for sort of okayness. And that's fine if that's if that's what you want. And for a lot of people, health is not something that they ever think about until they lose it. Because once they lose it, at that point, they're no longer able to do what they want to do the way they want to do it. So in order to pursue the things that matter to them in life, they have to get some degree of health back. But the problem with that is, if you're trying to get health through drugs and procedures and allowing yourself to be medicalized, then it makes sense. Okay, if there's two people and they're both taking their drugs, one of them's not doing it better than the other. You don't get extra points for like style as you flip the pill into your mouth, right? You just take the pill, and if you're compliant, you're compliant. It's kind of binary. You're either good or not good. You're compliant or not compliant, and there's nothing to achieve. Like, nobody ever, got an Olympic medal for being a good patient. You just do what they say, follow orders, and hopefully the stuff will work. But you and I know, if you've watched this show for any amount of time, you know that lifestyle trumps medicine. That the way we live our lives, for 99.9% of us, 99.9% of the time, the way we live our lives is a much greater determinant and predictor of health than our adherence to any sort of healthcare regimen, which means eating the right food, moving our bodies in the right way, getting enough rest, being outdoors, sleeping well, using our brains properly, not fixating on things, taking care of our thinking, drinking enough water. Today's show is brought to you by a large thermos of water. So those things, there's kind of no ceiling to how well we can do them, right, in terms of living healthy lives. And the reason there's no ceiling is because we live in a society in which it's really hard to live a healthy life. right? It's very easy to get medicalized, but it's very hard to live a life that our bodies have evolved to live, in terms of the food we eat, in terms of going to bed on time, in terms of light pollution, noise pollution, in terms of movement rather than just sort of sitting in a chair and being, moved from place to place by fossil fuel. Right? So we're so far away from what's natural and healthy for us that it's almost, you can almost think of it like infinity as getting to ultimate perfect health. In our society, it's almost impossible to get there unless you kind of drop out in some meaningful way, which you can only do if you have, like, no money or a huge amount of money, right? The rest of us are kind of in the system, and we have to kind of wriggle our way out of it, loosen the bonds a little bit, slip our hands out from under the zip ties, and try to exercise our own free will in terms of being healthy. But there's literally there's no end to what we can continue to do to make ourselves healthier. And if your physical health is perfect, well, we can all develop ourselves and become healthier human beings as we age, right? Even if you're like really mentally capable and emotionally stable at the age of 30, if you're the same way at the age of 50 or 60 or 70, then you probably stop growing. So there's always something greater to become, and that's kind of the joy of life. This journey we're on of constantly bettering ourselves, and whether that means bettering our situation, making more money, having more status, having more influence. For some people, that's bound up in it. For other people, simply becoming more kind, more conscious, more aware, more connected, more unified, more enlightened, is itself a task for the ages. But we live in a world in which if you are pursuing external things, you are applauded. If you are converting the earth's resources into wealth, you are applauded. If you are trying to better yourself on an internal level that's not measured necessarily in terms of external achievement, that's kind of seen as a luxury at best, or a waste of time at worst. So when we talk about a big change, we're going against pretty much every kind of programming that our culture has put into us. We're not supposed to make big changes. We're supposed to accrete things. We're supposed to accumulate. We're supposed to get higher status so we can, attract better and better mates. We're not supposed to think of ourselves as infinite, perfectible beings on a quest. It's a very romantic notion. But the thing is, that's kind of how we're hardwired. That's who we really are. If you think we're really the person who's just going to clock in every day at work 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, bring home a paycheck, settle for 2 weeks vacation, try not to get fired, try to put something aside for retirement. If you think that that's our destiny, that is our heritage, that's the best that the universe is going to ask of us or give us the opportunity to achieve, that's not real. That's an artifact of our culture. And our culture is very different from 99.9% of the cultures that have existed on the planet for 99.9% of the time, which is cultures that understood that human beings, that the human journey was a journey of constant growth, constant betterment, constant seeking after some larger than self, larger than life quest, achievement, knowledge, and that there was a great value in the elders in a society having struggled and achieved and attained and gained wisdom that they can bring back to feed back into the community to help guide the next generation. Well, we've lost all that as well. If you think about how many elders we have in our lives routinely who have fought the dragons that we have yet to fight, right? In our technological society, if someone is older, they're probably clueless about how the new things work. right? I am of that cusp age where I figured out how to stop the clock from blinking on the VCR, but I never got it ingrained so that every time we had a power outage, I had to look it up again in the VCR manual. So that places me at a very specific moment in time, right? You're there too, I'm not, right? So,
Yep.
you know, so my son is experimenting with Pokemon Go. I can't even wrap my head around what that entails. I can feel myself sort of slipping into post technological dotage. I just don't get some of the stuff. And whatever wisdom I have, whatever life wisdom, this is not a society that readily eats it up, that values it, that seeks it out. You know, because what I don't know is the latest, the newest thing. And whatever wisdom I have accrued doesn't seem relevant. So we live in a society in which internal change, in which striving for greatness is not really encouraged. We're encouraged to strive to make enough money to be really obedient consumers, but we're not encouraged, we're not guided, we are not mentored to fulfill our true potential, our real destiny. We're not expected or asked to become great. And if you want to do a big change, then you're asking that of yourself. You're asking yourself, can I become great? Not can I demedicalize? Not can I just lose 20 pounds? Or can I get off my hypertension medication? And so that I can do all these other things that I'm supposed to dutifully do. But when you say, can I make a big change? Can I become great? Can I fulfill my potential? We're talking about a whole different arena. And at that point, all the things we do for health are no longer ends. They are now means. So losing 20 pounds is not the goal in and of itself. So when I started my recent big change, which was initiated by starting to work on a book with Josh LaJaunie, who was a 420-pound Louisiana hard drinking, hard partying, hard eating, ex-football player, college dropout, substance abuser, who's now a competitive ultra marathoner. So when he came up and we started working together, my big change was I wanted to become a runner. I wanted to become an athlete again. We ran a couple of times, and the first time we ran around, I'm jiggling 20 extra pounds off of me, and I can feel how hard that is. You know, compare if you you know, we're all used to our weight, but go put 20-pound backpack on and try to run around and realize that, you know, if you're 20 pounds overweight, that's what you're carrying, and that's what I was carrying at that point. And I couldn't complain to Josh because he had once started running at the 400 pounds plus, so I wasn't going to get very far. But that was in the sort of the end of May. It's now the end of July. It's been 2 months, so I've lost 15 pounds. I still have a little bit to go. But now when I think about my runs and how much easier they are and how much more pleasurable they are, that's why weight loss was important. It wasn't to fit into size 31 pants again. That's vanity. That's just a number or just a marker along the way. But if the goal is I want to be a good runner, then that weight loss is significant as a means, no longer as an end. So I want to talk a little bit about if you want to do a big change. So if you're listening to this or watching this and really what you're concerned about is I just want to be healthy. I don't want you to turn it off yet because I still have something to say to you. But right now I want to talk to the people who really want a big change, who look at their lives and say, I could be so much more. All right? Suddenly popped into my head there's a Jackson Browne song called The Road. What's that lyric? I don't know. He's talking about being young. In 69 I was 17. In 1969 I was 17, and now I don't know when that road turned into the road I'm on. So now he's middle-aged, and he's on some road, and he's alienated from it. You know, when you're 17 and life is full of excitement, and it's the late 60s, and you could do anything, and you're, you know, a musician, and you're making it in the world, you connect with that vision, and then when did that road turn into the road I'm on? So if you've ever asked yourself some version of that question, when did I start to settle for who I am now? Then that's an invitation to a big change. Have we talked on this show about the hero's journey much? No. So here's why that's what I just said resonates with you at some level, and it might be a deeper level or a more accessible level for some people than others. But it resonates with you because that is the story that we have all grown up with. That's the story that every human has hardwired inside of us, is the hero's journey. And it goes like this, and you'll recognize it from every fairy tale you've ever heard, every Grimm story. You'll recognize it from pretty much every single blockbuster Hollywood movie, blockbuster novel series. And it goes like this. It's called The Hero's Journey. It was identified by Joseph Campbell, who's a professor of mythology, and he took a lot of his wisdom from Carl Jung and just studied mythology and stories and understandings of the world from all different cultures. And he said there's one culture, there's one myth that he called the monomyth, the single myth, the single story that is in every single culture. And because it's in every culture, he says it's what defines our humanity, and it's a roadmap for human development. And he called it the hero's journey. Let's go through the beginnings of the hero's journey and see what it looks like. And then we can apply it to some of these stories, and then we can apply it to ourselves. So it starts with the world is in trouble, or the world is blah. It could be one or the other. But something the world is not a perfect place. There's some sort of stagnation or problem with it. And in that world is the hero of the story. Remember that each of us who watches one of these stories, we're supposed to identify with that hero. And the hero is never someone of significance or power or influence at the beginning. Very often the hero of these stories is the lowest of the low. An orphan is the archetypal hero of these stories. You think about how many stories you can think of where the main character, the hero, the protagonist is an orphan. That's not accidental. Right? Or it's the seventh son, or the third foolish daughter, or someone who lives outside of town. Right? Someone who's not part of the center. And if the hero is part of the center, if it is the king or the queen, then somehow they've been diminished, and they need to regain themselves. So it starts with the hero in the world, and then there is the inciting incident, the call to action, where something happens that triggers the hero to say, I could do something about that. I could make a difference here. So in the fairy tales, it's often the dragon attacks and steals away the princess. The troll appears on top of the bridge and won't let anyone through. The queen is barren and cannot have a child, and none of the wise advisors to the kingdom can help. All right, so something calls the hero to the adventure. And then, and this is the most profound part of the whole thing, I think, the hero refuses the call. The hero says, no, what was I thinking? That I could do something about that. Who am I? There are soldiers, there are knights, there are wise women, there are people who've earned their stripes. They'll handle it. I cannot. I'm not good enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not experienced enough, I'm not important enough, I'm not deserving of the honor. And they say no. And they say no essentially out of fear, because they know that stepping up to face this challenge means they have to grow into something they are not yet. They have to accept the call of adventure. They have to accept the danger. They have to accept the fact that once they say yes, their world and their life will never be the same. They don't know what that looks like, and they're scared. The next stage in the story is what's called the meeting with the mentor. Usually the mentor is embodied by a wise person, whether it's Merlin or in some cases in the fairy tale it's the old woman sitting by the stream, the poor old woman sitting by the stream who has wisdom. But it's someone that you meet as the hero after you have refused the call, who does two things for you, usually. One thing is they give you a magical gift or a gift of power, and it could be a physical object or it could be information, knowledge, it could be the instructions. So very often in the fairy tale, the third child sets out to solve the problem after the first two have failed, and they come to the old woman at the stream and they're kind to her, they share their loaf. And so for that kindness, the old woman then tells them exactly what you need to do to get past the dragon, to find the princess, to defeat the sirens, whatever it is. Right? So the mentor gives them some sort of tool, whether physical or strategic, that will allow them to answer the call to adventure and be successful. The second thing the mentor gives them is, and this is in many stories but not all, their true name. And by true name, I mean their identity. And their identity is the opposite of who they thought they were when they refused the call. When they said, no, I can't do this, I'm the lowliest, I'm inconsequential, I'm unskilled, I'm untested, I'm a nobody. Essentially, I'm not enough. And when they get their true name, they discover that they have been enough all along. And what their enoughness has been waiting for is an opportunity to prove itself, and that this is the opportunity. The next step after the meeting with the mentor is they either get to say yes to the adventure or no to the adventure. If they say no to the adventure, we never read about it, because that ain't a story. That's just life. Life is people saying no to the call to adventure, even after meeting mentor after mentor, after getting gift after gift, after getting strategy after strategy, after finding out that their destiny is to be greater than what they are, and they still say no. Right? And we see this every day in real life, in reality. We see people who are resigned to jobs they hate, are resigned to relationships that feel stale. They're resigned to hobbies that are simply distractions rather than opportunities for growth and contribution and joy. And we see people who are basically giving up. And despite the constant call to adventure, despite the constant outside world saying you can be more than this, here, take this chance, take this course, improve yourself, start a conversation, take a risk. In spite of seeing mentors, and mentors these days very often come in the form of media, whether it's a book or an article or something on Facebook, something inspirational, or a person you meet saying here's, whether it's even something like Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig saying you can take this journey with us and be successful. And we say no and no and no and no. Or we say yes half-heartedly, or we say yes to fake mentors. People who aren't real, who aren't really mentors, but are just trying to make a buck off of us. And if we get fooled by that enough, we get jaded and scared and wary and distrustful, and we can't tell the difference between those hucksters and a real mentor who comes along with our true name and with a magical gift that will help us achieve in the face of the call to adventure. So in our world, a lot of people say no, but a lot of people say yes too. And in the story world, they say yes and they accept the call and they they flip into the point of no return. They move into the world of the adventure where they don't understand the rules anymore, where they have to figure out who is friend and who is foe. They have to discover who their traveling companions are. They have to discover what's what, how the world works. And that part is called friends and allies. And they have to learn how to navigate in this new world. So all of a sudden, in the old world, where they were unhappy and they were missing out on adventure and they weren't being their true selves, but at least they were competent. At least they knew how you talk to people in the office so you don't get any feathers ruffled. They knew how to drive home every single day and stop at the 7-Eleven for the big Slurpee. They were masters of their routines, of their unhappy suboptimal routines. But now all of a sudden they've said yes to adventure. And guess what? They're as incompetent as children trying to navigate an adult world. They don't understand how things work anymore. And it's only the newfound faith that they have in themselves from their true name and from this gift and from the validation that comes from the mentor that helps them through that really difficult period. Now I'm going to stop here on the hero's journey because there's other parts of it that are less relevant to what I want to talk about today, which is how do you discover what your call to adventure is? How do you deal with your own resistance to that call, which has been going on for a long, long time? How do you identify and use the millions of mentor moments that are available to you all the time? If you're watching this right now, this is a mentor moment. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke up my own butt or because I think I'm fantastic or anything like that. But how far are we into this record? About half an hour in?
Yeah, but you are great.
Maybe. But you get to say it, not me.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've been here for 30 minutes and you're listening means that something that is coming through my mouth from whatever source is resonating with you, which means that this is a mentor moment, right? For me, I had to recognize that Josh LaJaunie coming up and, you know, he was going to go running anyway. And I said, hey, can I run with you? That was a mentor moment. And he treated our 2 7-mile runs as mentor moments. He rose up to become a mentor. From the second day, he put on a 20-pound weight belt so that I didn't even have the excuse of my jiggly 20 extra pounds as he ran with me. The first day, he would slow down and walk when I had to walk from behind him. The second day, he kept going, and he just sort of kept looking from behind to see that I was keeping up. But he was challenging me to go harder and faster than I thought I could go or that I had gone that first time. So he stepped up as a mentor, and I recognized that he had that energy in him and that potential and that relationship of me being mentored and inspired and pushed into this new world of ultra running was available through that. So when you find a mentor, whatever it is, a self-help book, a website, someone's inspirational meme on Facebook, whatever it is that sort of triggers you to say, yeah, that's me, that's true. I've had enough of this old life. I want to cash in on the bond that was written in my name when I was born. You know, think of it like a savings bond. It's just a piece of paper, a certificate in a file drawer or a safe somewhere or a safety deposit box. It's worth nothing to you until you go find it and cash it in. And all of us were born with a bond, an incredibly valuable bond with our name on it, saying you can be great. You can have a big change at any point in your life and turn things around. If you listen to my podcast, Plant Yourself, at plantyourself.com, you know I've been featuring story after story lately of people who've gone through this big change. Tim Kaufman, who was addicted to painkillers and was born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where his ligaments weren't working and they were going to take out his patellas, his kneecaps, because they were causing him so much pain. And he was addicted to painkillers, and he was 400 pounds. And today he's posting pictures on his Facebook feed. He just climbed Mount Washington by foot, just climbed up the mountain with his wife. He had, last couple months ago, he'd run his first marathon. Right? That's a big change story. Eric O'Grey, who was getting ready to commit suicide, again, around 400 pounds, miserable, had no social life, would eat 2 full Domino's pizzas or Pizza Hut pizzas, a single meal, and with, not just plain, but with stuff on them, with the pepperoni or whatever. And he adopted a shelter dog, adopted a plant-based lifestyle, started running, and now he's an inspiration to millions of people. Josh LaJaunie himself, another guy I just spoke to on the phone today, Adam Sood, who was 350 pounds and addicted to drugs and is now a runner and an athlete, and it's spearheading programs to get people who have mental illnesses and addictions to treat them with plant-based lifestyle. There are more than I can name, and they've all discovered this power of the big change by just following with faith and with steadfastness the hero's journey. So just to bring it to a cultural level, the hero's journey, let's look at, let's say, Harry Potter. So our hero in Harry Potter is, of course, Harry Potter. He's the archetypal orphan, right? Parents killed. He lives a very marginalized life. He lives literally in the closet under the stairs in a family that doesn't understand him, barely tolerates him, barely feeds him, barely clothes him, and wants to keep him hidden away and down. They do not want him to become his true self. So there's the world. It's a boring world in which things are not right, things are not fair, nothing's exciting. And then you have the call to adventure. You start getting the letters from Hogwarts addressed to Harry Potter, and you realize something weird is going on. And he finds that he grabs on enough to realize that there's a school that wants him, a school for wizards that wants him. And in this case, the refusal is both internal and external. Internally, he says, oh, they've got to have the wrong person. I couldn't be a wizard. I'm just a little kid with glasses who gets picked on and beat up all the time. If I don't have any power, if I had power, then I wouldn't be living this crappy life. And there's also external resistance from the Dursleys themselves, who block all the doors and windows and chimney flues so the letters can't get in. And then they escape to a lighthouse where nothing can reach them. And then you have the meeting with the mentor, with Hagrid, who says, Harry, you're a wizard. And your parents didn't die in a car crash. They were wizards too. You come from a strong lineage of wizards. So he gives him his true name. He says, you're a wizard. You're the son of James and Lily Potter, who were great wizards. And you are destined to become a great wizard. And you have to come with us. You have to accept the call to adventure and come to Hogwarts. And he gives them his magical gift, which in this case is an owl, a means of magical communication with a new world, a new community. So Harry gets to Hogwarts, accepts the call, and he has to now navigate friends, allies, foes, rules. He has to enter a whole new world where he doesn't understand how magic works. He doesn't understand, should he be friends with Malfoy or with Ron? And it's the owl, it's his relationship with Hagrid, and it's this newfound faith that yes, this feels right, that allows him to make it through that early period of trials. Okay? Take another hero's journey story, Star Wars. We start with the original, number 4. It came out in, 77. Again, Luke Skywalker is an orphan. He lives with his aunt and uncle on some third-rate little planet, and he's like a farm boy. And he gets the call to adventure from the droid R2-D2, who posts a hologram of Princess Leia saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope." And Luke suddenly gets stars in his eyes about seeing himself as this brave rescuer. And then it's like, who am I kidding? I'm just a farm boy. I have to stay here with the farm. And he rejects the call to adventure. Then he meets Obi-Wan, Ben Kenobi, who gives him his true name and a magical item, both wrapped up in one. It gives him his father's lightsaber. It says, your father was a Jedi. He was a great Jedi, and here's his lightsaber. And now all of a sudden, Luke has a magical item and a new name. And then he gets pushed into his adventure when his aunt and uncle's farm is destroyed by the Empire. And then he has to discover a whole new world. Who do I trust? Do I trust Han Solo? Who do I trust in the bar? What are the rules of this new world? How do I behave? How do I show myself as a worthy person in the Rebel Alliance? How do I become a leader? How do I show courage? And you can see it in so many different forms of our culture, from the Disney movies to Star Wars to Harry Potter to The Matrix, right? You can run Neo through this story. You can do Lord of the Rings, both The Hobbit with Bilbo rejecting the adventure because he likes everything to be nice and calm, and Frodo rejecting having to carry the ring because there are people so much bigger and stronger and braver than he is. So that's big change. Life is asking it of us. And these stories, these tales, these epic stories, these children's stories, these fairy tales, they are all here to help us remember. That's why we crave this entertainment. That's why we crave this model, because we deep down crave being reminded, being told who we are, being told our true names and our true destinies. Pause for dramatic effect.
Oh.
Oh, crickets? I get crickets? I thought I'd get like a marching band. You've got a marching band somewhere there.
No, I don't.
Okay, so I want to talk about what stops us. And the first thing that stops us is, so we live in a very, get rich quick culture. So while we have these stories that tell us that things are not going to be quick and easy, that we have to struggle, we have to go through friends, allies, enemies, trials, and the rest of the stuff, we live in a culture, in an economy that promises magic instantly, that promises get rich quick, read this sentence, open this fortune cookie, put it under your pillow, and tomorrow you'll be rich and famous, and you'll have a hot blonde wife, right? Or whatever the version that is trying to appeal to your demographic is. Right? So you can do it. It's easy and it's quick. There's no problem to it. So we buy into that, right? It's part of the narrative of our culture. So why wouldn't we believe it? And we get burned. We get burned by people telling us how easy it's going to be. When it turns out not to be easy, we withdraw. And it's just like touching a hot stove. We learn one trial learning, or some of us takes a little bit longer. that we stop trusting, we stop hoping, we stop believing, because hoping hurts when you don't get it. Disappointment hurts when we've had our hopes dashed. So for a lot of us, it's easier to not have hope, to just go along, be blasé, kind of act like we've given up because nothing ventured, nothing gained. All right, now the song that comes to me is Paul Simon, I am a rock, I am an island, and a rock feels no pain and an island never cries. Right? I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to take risks. I'm not going to take risks. And trying to become better, trying to fulfill this heartfelt destiny is a risk. No question about it, because we will stumble, we will fall. And it's not going to feel good at times. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be, give me 29 bucks and I'll send you, and 3 easy payments of 29 bucks and I'll send you a Thigh Master, and you just do these exercises and look how beautiful the woman is on TV doing the exercises, and that's going to be you too. Right? That is egregious fantasy. It goes against our programming, but we hear it again and again and again, and so we respond to it. So another reason we fail is we find well-meaning people who tried something that kind of worked for them, but it's idiosyncratic. They didn't stop to become a mentor. They just became someone who got lucky, or someone who is genetically blessed, or someone who did a bunch of stuff and it worked for them, and now maybe they're charismatic and good looking and they're connected, and so now they're going to create an empire out of teaching other people to be them. And you can't teach anybody else to be you. You can share, you can guide. The mentor is a hero who's undergone the journey themselves. They have struggled, they have learned lessons, they have gone through the whole thing. That's what makes them qualified to be a mentor. It's not that they suddenly, they weren't born there. They weren't born a hero. That sort of person is of no value. And so what happens a lot is these faux mentors offer advice that maybe worked for them, but it's not going to work for you. Or even more cynically, advice that they themselves don't take or can't take. I can't tell you how many people I've met who are publicly doing XYZ and they attribute that to their success, but in the background they're actually not doing that at all. Either it's too hard, or they can't be bothered, or they've attained success in some field and so they don't feel like they have to anymore. There's a lot of fraudulence, there's a lot of fakery. And becoming a guru in our society really sets us up for engaging in that kind of fakery. One of my most important mentors in business and in life, Ken McCarthy, who taught me marketing as part of the Systems Seminar. I was once having a conversation with him early. I just started getting to know him. And he offered me a piece of advice that has been so valuable. He said, the most important thing is never to believe your own PR. So, if you're marketing yourself and you're talking about how great you are and how well you can do things and how you've succeeded and achieved, he says, don't start believing that. Because when you do, first of all, you become an a-hole. But second of all, you become soft and lackluster, and you dial it in, and you're not fully present, and you're not in the game anymore, and you just think you're great, and so you don't have to keep putting in the work. And that makes you a dangerous mentor, and it makes you a less than person. I can't tell you how many people, again, who I've met who have great PR, and when you meet them, you realize very, very quickly that they are not living up to it. And in fact, they're living with a fair amount of shame because of it, that they're feeling fraudulent. A friend of mine who works at a place that deals with a lot of sort of spiritual gurus can attest to how far these people are in real life from their public personas. So when you do become something of a guru, which I have experience with in 2 fields, first in digital marketing, where people were coming up to me and wanting my autograph and wanting to take pictures with me And this was all very, very shortly after I had been in the same position. Like I got lucky. I did some things well. I met some good people. I wrote a book. I worked hard. It wasn't all luck. I'm not being completely you know, what's that word? Self-deprecating. Um, you know, I did work hard and I had achieved some success, but I could see these newbies coming up and projecting so much stuff onto me, like I was the answer. Like all they had to do was like touch my sleeve or ask me a question or have me help them, and then everything was going to magically be all right. And I could feel the danger in starting to believe that, in starting to act as if that was who I was, starting to agree with their perception and their projection upon me. And I saw how dangerous that was, and I responded by becoming doubly self-deprecatory, which didn't help sales, I'll tell you that. But and so I'm sure there are ways to be, you know, not false modest that I didn't master, but at least I didn't fall into the trap of thinking I was really, you know, hot stuff. And it happens again as, you know, in the plant-based community, as I've done events and I speak and I've co-written books. And again, that people put upon me that I'm some sort of, you know, greater than. Like I'm not struggling just like everybody else. And so as I've matured, next week I approach my 51st birthday, or as I like to think of it, 17 again, birthday. I try to be really open about my lifestyle, about my struggles, about what works well and about what doesn't, because ultimately it's only that kind of honesty that makes me a useful mentor, right? If Luke Skywalker goes to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Obi-Wan says, oh, it's easy, you don't have to worry anymore, you've mastered swordplay, you can now lift the thing out of the lake thanks to Yoda, you're all cool, and you don't have any more problems. And then when Obi-Wan Kenobi gets smacked down by Darth Vader, he's like, oh, damn, my idol just fell. I've lost all my faith. Right? A mentor is only as good as the truth they tell and the true path that they walk. So there's a lot of people who are not really mentors, who are out there selling advice that is of limited practical value. Or if you try to take their advice and it's not completely, perfectly, 100% tailored for you, you're going to get tripped up and you're going to lose faith. Right? So another part of getting tripped up in a big change is not committing to it in the right way. So when we think about like changing our habits, we think about willpower. And I've talked a lot about willpower in these shows. I think that was probably one of the first shows that I talked about was about yeah.
I'm still waiting for a prescription for some.
A prescription for willpower? Well, I can give you prescriptions for very small doses, but you have to take them at the right time. It's the schedule that's important. So we think we need willpower to just adopt this new habit, and this is coming right back to what I said at the very beginning about, you know, medicalized versus lifestyle change. The willpower, as we know, is a short-term solution. We have limited amounts of it. Yes, we can build up more, and yes, the more we have, the happier we become. But if we rely on it, and we rely on motivation, especially the way it's taught in our culture, kind of New Year's resolution type, like I've got to suck it up, and the opposite of that is, well, if I fail, then it's because I'm weak or I'm lazy. It's some sort of inherent character flaw, right? Well, I'm just a procrastinator, or oh, I just can't stop eating those donuts. And we look at our failures and we attribute them to persistent character traits that cannot be changed. Well, I'm just this way, and it can't be helped. And once we do that, then the first time we trip up. And remember, every one of these stories, there are trip-ups. There's no story, there's no interesting story, there's no true story of someone just having success and not having setbacks. But when we have a setback, if we interpret it the way our culture tells us to, which is, well, I guess you just lack willpower, you're just undisciplined, you're lazy, there's something wrong with you, then the first setback will stop us in our tracks. And the third thing we do, and this is completely related to this idea of big change, is we pick weak ass goals. So if my goal is I want to lose 20 pounds, oh please, like what for? Who cares? Really, is that motivating me to drop 2 belt sizes? Whereas I want to run a 50K. I want to show myself. I want to show the world what I can do. I want to show the world what I'm willing to sacrifice to achieve my goals. Because that is kind of the key. Whatever I want in life, the question is, what am I willing to sacrifice to get it? And just like in ancient civilizations, a lot of ancient civilizations had what's called a potlatch ceremony, which was whoever was the wealthiest, most important, most influential person in the village would show it by burning or destroying or sinking a bunch of their stuff. Like the more you have, the more you can waste. So there are, and throughout history, throughout culture, we have this idea of if you have excess, then you destroy it or waste it ostentatiously, and that tells everyone who you are, how great you are. Right? We have it today with fancy cars, right? As Doug Lyle pointed out to me, you can get by with a $15,000 Ford Festiva, or you can drive a $200,000 Lamborghini, right? And to ostentatiously drive that very, very expensive car that's no better and possibly in some ways is less reliable than your cheapo car tells the world you've got money to burn. Well, so in our world, in the world of the hero's journey, what we want to be able to burn is willpower and commitment and passion and drive and focus, internal characteristics that determine who we are. And so the question is, if you want a goal, what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? How much of your leisure time, how much of your comfort, how much of your convenience are you willing to sacrifice to achieve that goal? And that's when you can answer that with the answer being a lot, then you know you have a worthwhile goal. Then you know that you're chasing something good. So I want to end with an invitation, because today, this is not accidental that I talked about big change, because today my friend Josh LaJaunie and I just launched the Big Change program. It's a 1-year program designed to help you, if this resonates with you, if you're just like, I just want to, get some tricks, sell me some shakes and bars and I'll be fine. Just want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to get off my meds, but I don't really care about this other stuff. First of all, I don't think you're telling the truth to yourself. I think everybody cares. I think this is hardwired in our DNA, and it may be buried deep under a lot of complacency and a lot of unhappiness and a lot of failed hopes, but I think it's still in there. I think there's still a little spark that can be kindled if you wish. But if you're ready today, if you're saying, yeah, big change sounds good to me, I want to go on that hero's journey, I want to say yes to the call to adventure that I've been rejecting for so long, I want to find a mentor that I can trust, or 2 mentors in the case of me and Josh, that can help guide me to the big change, whether it's going from being sick and overweight to becoming an athlete, like so many of the people that I've met through Josh, and like Josh himself, or whether it's something else, whether it's not physical activity, but building the business, or overcoming an addiction, or changing the world through activism, something that you feel like, some potential that has been dammed up that you want to achieve. We're going to be focusing largely on health and fitness, on the big change around the body as a first step, but it's applicable to anything. We opened enrollment to the program this morning at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The doors opened, and a bunch of people have signed up. We're limiting it to 60 so we can make sure we get to know everybody in the program. There's 3 kickoff classes that start on August 2nd. So the month of August is these kickoff classes that you can listen to live and also get the recordings. And then through the next August is coaching, group coaching, a lot of support, a lot of group calls, resources, a forum for community support, a lot of other things that we'll be building in based on feedback, based on your needs. But the idea is, if you're committed, we will be with you all the way through the entire hero's journey to bring you to the place where this big change has become a stable reality and not a pipe dream or something that you grasp for a couple of weeks at a time and then lose hold of. So if this interests you, if you're ready to take that leap, you can go to bigchangeprogram.com. It's just the order page. It gives a brief description, very, very brief, and you can go there and order. If you need more information, I have an entire sales letter, an entire information letter about the program, what it is, who we are, what we're trying to achieve. Unfortunately, I did not put that into a simple URL. So if you're interested in that, here's what you do. You go to trianglebewell.com and you put in your name and email. And if you do it today, I will get back to you with that link to read about the whole thing. Otherwise, if you've just listened to this hour and you're kind of excited, then you can just go to bigchangeprogram.com, and it's very, very clear and obvious what to do from there to sign up. If you have questions about it, email me, howard@trianglebewell.com, and we can get on the phone and talk about whether it's a good thing for you or not. The other thing is, I feel very confident in recommending it because we have a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, which means you can go through all 3 kickoff classes, listen to everything, get to know people, start to interact, and if you think, yeah, this isn't for me, then just tell us by the end of August and you get your money back, August 2016. So I feel pretty good promoting this because the risk is on me, the obligation is on me and Josh to deliver a great program. It's not on you. You get to decide whether we've fulfilled our part of the bargain or not. So again, that's bigchangeprogram.com. Me and Josh, if you know Josh, if you know anything about him, he is so sincere and earnest and interested in helping as many people as possible to get out of the prison that he was in for so many years. He's inspired me. I'm helping, he says that I help him nuggetize, to take what he's learned and put it into, I'm sort of the educator, like I'm a teacher. So to take it and to put it into bite-sized chunks and to make it convenient and easy for people to begin to get it into their lives. I'm not saying that your change will be convenient and easy, but I'm saying that getting the information that will allow you to do the brave, hard, exciting things that you were meant to do in your life is something that's my gift of mentorship. And Josh's gift of mentorship is his incredible commitment to helping other people go through the hero's journey that he himself is on. And we're both going to be real honest with you. We don't pretend to be what we're not. When we struggle, we let you know, and we're there for you and as encouraging as possible. Whatever we can do to help as many people as possible get well, get better, adopt plant-based lifestyles, get moving, become the authentic humans that we're all meant to become. That's what we're about. So again, bigchangeprogram.com, or email me, howard@trianglebewell.com. I'll post something about this on Facebook, so you can look there. You can go to Facebook, Triangle Be Well, or Facebook Plant Yourself, and I'll put something. Also, I'll add a link to Triangle Be Well and Plant Yourself for people who are interested. So that's it about Big Change. I hope this has been useful. I hope it's been a little bit inspirational. That was one of the goals. If you don't work on the program with me, work on it by yourself. Find a mentor, say yes to the call to adventure, and go out and live a freaking amazing life of contribution and joy and service and love. And with that, as always, be well, my friends.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan. My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo. The Tanya Love Show. Health Then with Debbie Bruck. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon. Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson. Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler. Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members. Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.